Lucy Aquino. Lucy says, my VAWA was applied last May 2022. I received my work permit last December 2023. How long for a green card? At least 3 years, Lucy. Malachi. Hello, Brad. My I-45 and I-130 says actively being reviewed. After we submitted RFE, please, how long will it take? Once you respond to the RFE, figure at least a year. Leisha, advanced parole document. How after approval does it take for you to get it? Probably 2 or 3 weeks in the mail. Dolly Baby, can I get food stamps for my kids if they undocumented without a problem when I'm going to file my paperwork in Chicago? If your kids are undocumented, they're not going to get food stamps. If your kids are U.S. citizens, then yes, they can get food stamps, regardless of whether you're documented or not. Katie says, hi, Brad. If you receive a green card via VAWA, when you file citizenship, 2 years, 9 months, or 5 years? 2 years, 9 months, and 3 days to be exact. Elizabeth Kenjana, is CBP One still in use? I guess you're talking about the app to try to get an appointment at the border. Yes, it is. Naveed, can you help me with student visa for nephews who are 16 years old from Pakistan? Yes, I guess presumably if they're ready to go to university or maybe a boarding school, also would take children who are not yet ready for a university. Alicia White, can I also file for my son who's 15 that overstayed his visa? Can he get in school here in New York? I assume, Alicia, you can file for your son, but I don't know your situation, so I would need to know a lot more. Lexi Apple, hello, Brad. How are you? I filed for my son in December 21, but the visa bulletin is saying that they're at June 2020 as F2A. Does that sound right with the time frame? I would have to look at what the visa bulletin says, Lexi. If you want me to look at the visa bulletin, I can right now. Let me Google that visa bulletin, and the visa bulletin for F2A for April 2024 is September 8th, 2020, Lexi. I don't know where you got December 2021 from. Dates for filing family-sponsored visa applications are September 1st, 2023. That means you can file an adjustment up to 2023. They're processing cases up to 2023, but no green card is going to be issued unless his priority date is prior to September 8th, 2020. Adaon Lindo says, hi, Brad. I'm in the military and recently received my citizenship. Congratulations, and thank you for your service. I got married in January to my now wife, who is Jamaican. She returned to Jamaica. Can I file for an I-130? Absolutely. Why not? File for the I-130 immediately. Aristemo, I'm in New York City. Does 16010 attempt of robbery crime qualify for U visa? District attorney denied the certification for not finding a file under my name. I have a police report. Maybe the district attorney never prosecuted the crime, but there is a police report. You have to show that 2 things to get a U visa. 1, that you were injured. 2, that you cooperated. Maybe the district attorney never had any record of your cooperation. Maybe they never arrested anybody, but maybe you cooperated with the police. So go to the police, ask them. Nisa Hewitt, USCIS received my medical. They requested to process the 485 in September 2023, and the status of the case is still saying actively reviewing cases. Is there anything that can be done on my end, or just wait? At the moment, just wait. If a year goes by and you haven't heard anything, then call me and we'll do a threat of a mandamus. Chartone Brown, hi, Brad. Question. I got my visa last year. I traveled a few days. I applied for my children's visa, even though one is 18 years old, but he's a student and he's still cared for by his parents. I guess you're asking, will they get a visa? I have no idea. Island Drone Adventures. Hi, Brad. My mom recently applied for an N400, but she worked only 1 year during the last 5 years and only made $4,200, of which $120 was held. She didn't file a tax return for this. Will it be a problem? She should go and speak to, I'm not a tax expert on that, but she should speak to a tax attorney, a tax representative, and say, do you need to file a tax return on this income? If so, she should do it. Do the right thing. Island Drone, she only worked in 2021. Then she should have a tax return for 2021. She may not owe taxes. That's certain. You only owe taxes if you earned more than $10,000 in any given year, but probably should file a tax return. Trevian Clark, how long does USCIS take to process I-824 after submitting? At least 8 or 9 months. Hawkeye, can I transit through the U.S. from Canada on a B1, then decided to overstay? Do I qualify to adjust if I married a U.S. citizen? Then if I use my C1, D1, what do you think, sir? If you come to the United States and enter the U.S. on a B1, B2 visa, and then you overstay, you will be eligible to adjust. If you enter the United States on a C1 D1 visa, which is a crewman to basically transit through, then you would not be eligible to adjust. So it depends not what visas you have in your passport, it depends on how you entered the US. Sonia, am I entitled to any health benefits as a green card holder? I've never worked in this country. Yes, you're entitled to anything any green card holder would be eligible for. Go get it. Lillian, hi Brad Squad. How long does it take for processing of a green card from the Nebraska office? I have no idea who's sponsoring you for your green card. King TV, hey Brad, what's a derivative citizen? How do I know if I qualify? A derivative citizen is somebody who derives their citizenship automatically through their parents because their parents were a U.S. citizen. You generally either qualify because you had a green card and your parents were citizens before 18, and it's on a case-by-case basis, or your parent was a citizen when you were born and lived in the United States for a period of time prior to your birth. J Love, hello, Brad. I got married last month. I am out of status, but I'm waiting for my adjustment of status to be approved. Can I travel domestic with my valid passport? Yes, you can.